Hello everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Cyber Safety and Security for K-12 Schools. My name is Katie Fritchen, and I'll be your host today. Just a few housekeeping items. All attendees are on mute. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to use the Q&A panel. And yes, this webinar is being recorded. It will be available shortly after the webinar, and you will receive it via email. Also, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please submit your questions through the Q&A panel. Okay, on our agenda today, we will be discussing cybersecurity and how Google helps keep your information secure in G Suite. Then we'll talk about cyber safety, how security and safety are converging, and what schools can do to use technology to help. And then you'll hear from Justin Feltus from Bremerton School District, who is going to talk about how they put cyber safety and security in action. Last, we'll talk about how you can take the next step with a free risk assessment. I'm happy to introduce our four experts today. We have Kyle Azua and Jeff Kurtz from Google, who will talk about the Google Cloud Platform and G Suite for K-12. We have David Waugh, who is here at ManagedMethods. He's our Chief Revenue Officer, and System Specialist Justin Feltus from Bremerton School District. So without further ado, let's get started with Kyle, and he is going to tell you a little bit about Google Cloud for K-12.
Hey, thanks, Katie. Hey, everyone. My name's Kyle Azua. I work over on the Google for Education team as a GCP specialist, and I'm here with Jeff Kurtz, who's also a K-12 education cloud architect. We're here today to share a bit about how Google thinks about security, how those benefits are passed along to both our customers and our partners. The way we're going to kick this off is we'll start with a brief overview of the backbone of Google, known as Google Cloud Platform. GCP is the acronym for it. It's really what powers all of our first-party apps, including all the ones that are used by over 1 billion users each. And we also have partners like ManagedMethods who have chosen to build their products onto GCP for additional security. We don't have a ton of time for our section, so I'm going to go ahead and get things kicked off. So, Katie, do you want to go to the next slide for me, please? Awesome. So let's start with some quick myth busting. I think for those of you who are already using G Suite for Education, you're probably familiar with many of these privacy policies that we already have, and they actually apply to Google Cloud Platform as well. I think the most important thing to point out is that you actually own your data, not Google, which I know that there's actually usually a misconception here because people tend to compare G Suite for Education or Google Cloud Platform to some of our public products, such as Google Maps, for example. But of course, the way that we handle data in GCP is different than what those consumer platforms are like, right? The security features that you see here, such as data being encrypted at rest and in transit by default, those are inherited by our partners at ManagedMethods who are building on our platform. So all the security goodies that we bake in for our customers are also enjoyed by our customers who are using ManagedMethods. I think the easiest way to sum up all the points on this slide is that it's your data in our cloud. Katie, can you hop over to the next one for me, please? Thank you. All right. Another reason that our customers and partners build on the cloud in education is that we have a pretty robust and a very compliant cloud. We know that at least eight of our services are maintaining more than 1 billion users each, and that means that we have a lot of data to help understand the diverse needs of our customers. And we put our money where our mouth is, right? We contributed over $31 billion to build out our cloud infrastructure over the past 3 years. This is a big factor in how through 2020, it's estimated that public cloud workloads will suffer at least 60% fewer security incidents than those in traditional data centers, according to Gartner. Lastly, we're a strong player in the open source community. We contribute over 160 academic papers on security. And GCP, we like to think, plays well and secures well with others. All right, Katie, can we go to the next slide here? All right, so this is the last cool tidbit that is something I don't think a lot of people know. So we actually have privately manage all the networks that support GCP. So we have a lot of our own fiber laid out there. Since Google was born in the cloud, we've had to lay out a lot of our own personal fiber just to maintain our own systems. So as we extend this benefit out to our customers, that means that we minimize the amount of time that your traffic goes to the public internet and spends more time on our private networks. Now, I got a laugh out of this from the Managed Methods team last time, but it's an internal term that we use to describe this as hot potato versus cold potato. There's a lot of platforms that will try to dump your traffic out into the public internet as soon as possible. It just makes it easier for their systems to handle your traffic, but in some cases, dumping out that traffic on the public internet isn't as secure as private internet. So what we do here at Google is we do cold potato, meaning we try to keep all of our workloads and traffic on our private network as long as possible. We think that's going to make it as easy and secure as possible for our customers who are using our platform. And we think that's an easy way for you guys to get additional security with minimal effort. That's another reason why we're one of the only current cloud providers that offers encryption of data at rest by default. So I think that when Google is, has all these security features built into our cloud, we try to think how do we make it as easy as possible to inherit the security policies that Google has for our products, as opposed to making our customers go through and flip a bunch of switches and add a bunch of extra things to secure that, right? So I think the native security that we offer is passed on to Managed Methods as well as our customers. Next slide, please, Katie. So I brought this up a little bit earlier, but just wanted to reiterate that truly your data is your data. Just because you put it in the Google Cloud doesn't mean that you can't have it back, that you don't have access to it, that we have visibility into it. This is something that truly you own your data. We actually give that visibility to our customers as well, so you know exactly who's accessed your data, when they accessed it, what they accessed, all that good stuff. We also have a lot of additional features too, such as data loss prevention, which helps prevent your loss of data in the cloud. One more slide, Katie. So that's it for my portion. I'm going to pass things over to Jeff Kurtz. But if you guys want to explore how you can use Google Cloud Platform within your school districts, that's my main focus here at Google, is how do we help this platform to work alongside of G Suite and Chromebooks. So feel free to shoot me an email afterwards. We can get in touch and brainstorm a little bit. With that, Jeff, I'm going to pass the reins over to you.
Hey, thanks so much, Kyle. Hey, everyone. This is Jeff Kurtz. I'm a solutions engineer with Google for Education. Very happy to be here with you all. You're probably all very familiar with G Suite for Education. I'm sure many of you have been using it for quite a while. If for some reason you're not, G Suite for Education is a comprehensive suite of products, including email with Gmail and calendar, productivity apps like Google Docs, Sheets and Slides, and Google Drive, Google Classroom, as well as a full suite of administrative controls to manage all of the apps and all of your users. If you go to the next slide. So 8 of the Google services or Google apps have over 1 billion daily users. And that includes 2 of the core G Suite apps, such as Gmail and Google Drive. And I mention that because it's kind of hard to get your head around what does 1 billion users look like. But it's that scale that really allows us to ensure that your data is secure, that your users' data is secure, that we're able to identify and take care of any threats that come in. And that scale across consumer, across G Suite, across the businesses, education and businesses that use G Suite, really allow us to identify threats quickly and alert you as quickly as possible to something that might be happening within your domain. If you can go to the next slide, please. And so speaking of scale, we have over 850 security engineers that are working 24/7 to maintain security. We spend over $2 billion a year on our security across GCP, G Suite, all of our services. And we've published over 160 academic research papers on security, and those are available online if you'd like to take a look at any of them. If you can go to the next slide. And because of that scale, it allows us, again, to detect these threats very, very quickly. You can see here, we're scanning over 700,000 web pages every minute for harm. We are protecting over 2 billion devices with safe browsing technology. Over 400 million Android devices are checked for health every day. And this number always gives me pause. Over 10 million spam messages are stopped every single minute in Gmail across our consumer accounts, as well as all of our G Suite accounts. You can go to the next slide, please. And of course, you don't have to take just our word for it. We have a number of third-party audits and certifications that we go through every single year to ensure that our products are doing what we say they're doing. I'm sure you're very familiar in the US with things like COPA and FERPA, and G Suite is compliant with, G Suite for Education is compliant with both of those. There are a number of other certifications that we have. G Suite can be used in compliance with HIPAA data, the FedRAMP for those in the government sector. We have a number of third-party audits that you can take a look at, like SOC 2, if you're interested in those. And if you can go to the next slide. I just want to mention these 3 resources. These are great, in terms of sort of understanding how G Suite and G Suite for Education in particular keeps users and data secure. Our privacy policies, things we do on the back end to maintain privacy and security. The first link, google.com/edu/privacy, specific to Google for Education. This is a really great resource, not just for you to take a look at, but for you to also send to anyone who's curious about kind of how we do things. So we often hear that parents want to know about how Google keeps their kids' data secure. This is a great resource to send out to those parents or to faculty who are kind of interested in what our policies are and kind of what we're doing on the back end. That second link, gsuite.google.com/security, is a similar site talking about G Suite in general. And then the third link, that security checklist. This is a really great checklist. If you haven't seen this, when you go to that link, there'll be a checklist. It'll say for businesses, for medium and large businesses, but of course, most of what's there will apply to education. Many educational institutions are larger than most businesses, right? And so you're dealing with the same issues that businesses deal with. And there's a checklist there that will take you through everything from the admin console to user accounts to each of the apps like Gmail, Calendar, Drive, and will give suggestions and recommendations and best practices as to how to ensure that your G Suite setup is as secure as possible, and how to reduce the risk of threats, of data leaks, etc. Not all of those recommendations are going to apply to you. Obviously, you have to use your judgment to kind of what works best for you. But I think you'll find a lot there that's relevant, and it's just kind of a great thing to look at, and just make sure that you are kind of thinking about each of these issues and that you haven't missed anything. And if you could go to the next slide. Finally, Kyle talked a lot about this, but I think that generally speaking, we try to make products that work well together, right? And so you have G Suite, a lot of collaboration within the apps and communication products that work together. Obviously, G Suite works very, very, very well and closely with Chrome and Android. Many of you are probably managing Chrome devices through the admin console. And then G Suite also works very well with Google Cloud Platform. There are a lot of integrations. You can, if you have G Suite, you can set up access to Google Cloud Platform from within the admin console. And there's a lot that you can do on GCP to enhance your G Suite apps themselves. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the Managed Methods team to take it from here.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you, Kyle. We appreciate Google's support today and helping us put on this webinar. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is David Waugh, and I am with Managed Methods. I'm presenting to you today from our headquarters at the base of the Rocky Mountains in Boulder, Colorado. And I've already had a few people through the chat Q&A ask some questions about, hey, is Managed Methods hiring? Well, we are indeed growing very rapidly, and Colorado is certainly a beautiful place to live. So we are growing. If you're interested, certainly reach out to me afterwards. But okay, enough recruiting. Let's get back on with this webinar. So a little background on Managed Methods for those of you that are maybe not familiar with us. The company was founded in 2014, and we launched our platform into the K-12 market a little over 2 years ago. In that time, we've seen rapid growth and adoption of our platform in the education market. Our award-winning SaaS security platform serves the data security and cybersecurity safety needs of over 500 schools across the US and Canada. And with that, we're protecting over 1 million staff and student accounts. We're built as a 100% cloud-native platform, and I'll come back to that momentarily. We're certainly honored to have a very high rating from our customers. And you can see on the G2 crowd, we have an extremely high rating. And we take great pride in having a nearly perfect customer retention rate, over 98% customer retention rate, which is extremely high in the SaaS market space. Of course, as you see on the screen, we have many accolades and awards, but most importantly, we have the certifications for iKeepSafe with FERPA and COPA, student data privacy, and importance on those certifications to know that you're working with a vendor that has the stamp of approval. Our product supports a variety of cloud-based applications. Of course, today we're going to be focused on Google and Google G Suite for education, but we do support applications from other vendors such as Microsoft's Office 365 Suite, Dropbox, Slack, and more. So if we want to go ahead and go to the next slide, Katie. Managed Methods set out to build the best possible SaaS platform designed for the K-12 from the ground up with several goals in mind. First, we wanted to make it easy, not only easy to implement and use it for a staff of whether it's one person or a staff of 100 people, but also easy to maintain and use ongoing for an IT staff. We wanted to make it powerful. We wanted to bring enterprise-grade security and functionality to the K-12 market. We wanted to make it affordable, and most importantly, back it up with great customer service and support. And I know this all sounds cliche, and everybody probably likes to say that, but ask our customers, look at the G2 ratings, talk to our customers, they'll tell you that's all true. So therefore, in order to accomplish those things when we first started, we needed one key item, and that was select a go-to-market platform. And there's many to choose from out there. We selected the Google Cloud Platform as our partner of choice. And why? Well, they helped us accomplish those goals I just mentioned. As you've seen just now from Kyle and Jeff, you know, Google allows us to have infinite scalability through the Google Cloud Platform. It's extremely reliable. Uptime is always there for us and our customers. They back it up with great customer service, and they're a great partner to work with. And most importantly, as Jeff just described, it's safe and secure and private. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So why this topic of cyber safety and cybersecurity? Over the past 20 years, the concept of cybersecurity and safety in the classroom has evolved, and it's evolved across all industries. But in many cases in K-12 now, we're seeing a merger of these two concepts. Why? Well, first, there's more technology than ever before inside of school districts. Cloud-based learning management systems, email, file sharing, you know, just as we talked about, social media, Google, you know, Jeff just mentioned Google and the number of users they have, Gmail, Google Classroom, Google Drive, Google is the dominant force in K-12. 90% of all data created in the world in the past 2 years now lives in the cloud. So as a result, the schools are increasingly becoming targets for cyber attacks, cyber threats. In fact, they're now in the top 5 most targeted categories in most industry reports. As an example, you see on the screen this map from our friends at the K-12 Cybersecurity Resource Center, which is just the published updates, the ones that are made public in terms of attacks on school districts. On top of that, the increase, unfortunately, of cyberbullying, harassment, threats, and other types of inappropriate behavior and usage of technology, again, is on the rise inside of K-12. And oh yes, there's more. The laws are increasing, regulations, data privacy on state and national levels, cyberbullying laws at a state level, all things that are certainly important, but all of these things combined have had a result, and now IT staffs are being faced with more and more challenges than ever before. So let's take a look at these things. The first step that K-12 schools and IT teams now have to address is the dual threat, the dual challenges. What is the difference between cyber safety and cybersecurity? Cyber safety, it's more about the human aspect. We're talking about students, staff, prevention and protection from self-harm, bullying, threats, explicit content, violence. This is where we focus on content filtering and inspection of email, documents, messages, sometimes it's social media. If we look at the other side of the coin, we're talking traditional cybersecurity approaches. It's about protecting the data, protecting the school's technology and infrastructure, protecting financial data of the district and employees, personal identifiable information of students, staff members, protecting against external threats of phishing, malware, ransomware, other attempts on the district. And this is covering things, of course, like networks, computers, cloud apps, etc. So now as a result, IT has to be equipped to address each of these areas through visibility, monitoring, and other types of controls. So therefore, they're able to take action either directly from the IT department with traditional cybersecurity approaches, or pass the information on to the appropriate teams that can deal with the student harm or campus safety management issues. And this is why here at Managed Methods, we are bringing more attention to this growing concern of cloud security for K-12 schools. The approaches need to evolve, and districts need to have coordinated efforts, not just IT by itself, but the district, the administration, and the vendors. So there's 3 important critical areas that we're seeing more and more within the K-12 market, and there's much confusion out there around them. So let's look at these 3. Content filtering and inspection, which is very prevalent. It should be there to inspect the content between the network as well as the cloud apps and various things between students and staff. Of course, this is required by FERPA on a federal level. Campus safety management, some districts have separate departments, and other areas it just falls onto the IT responsibility. And now the third area, which is growing rapidly, is of course the cloud security area, protecting the data and the threats and the cloud applications beyond that of what legacy systems like firewalls and traditional physical network tools were able to do. Here at Managed Methods now, we've been building a platform that helps address each of these areas and complements the offerings of other technology vendors in these other levels as well. So districts have to evaluate, look at the criteria they need, select which type of security is best for them, and determine which direction to go. In some cases, it may be on all levels, as you're going to hear shortly from our friends at Bremerton. But in other cases, you may need to address these individually. If you'd like to get more information on this, Managed Methods, we try to be thought leaders and share information of our own as well as that we find in the market space and of our friends and peers. We're happy to share this information, of course, with all the attendees afterwards, and we'll be distributing this information. That's all I have, so why don't we go ahead now and introduce our friends from Bremerton School District. I'd like to introduce Mr. Justin Feltus. of Bremerton School District in the Seattle, Washington area. Bremerton has approximately 5,000 students, just shy of 1,000 faculty and staff, and they've been using Google for Education since 2014. So with that said, Justin, are you with us there?
I am. All righty. As David said, I'm Justin Feltus. I'm the systems administrator here in Bremerton. You know, we've got about 5,200 students, 800,000 staff, and, you know, we've been moving towards the cloud and using G Suite for Education since about 2014. I came on 2014, and when I started, we had a very traditional model. We had, you know, labs of PCs, we had a firewall, we had all the standard stuff, and system administering was pretty normal. Keep the servers up, work with the network admin, make sure that the systems are functional. But we quickly realized that technology wasn't staying static, never does, and that we needed to look at cloud platforms and how we could move towards a one-to-one deployment. And that immediately led to G Suite and Chromebooks and all of those things. And, you know, I got a feel if I'm talking to a bunch of district IT folks, you guys are well aware of how Chromebooks and G Suite and everything works together. And that, you know, that is the direction that school districts have been moving. So how did we do that? We started pushing out labs of Chrome bases. We started putting carts of Chromebooks into the elementary schools, trying to train the staff and the students as a cohort moving towards a one-to-one deployment. We had our one-to-one deployment this year. So secondary schools, they all one-to-one Chromebooks, and we've got a cart in every classroom in the elementary system. Getting from here to there has been interesting. I mean, the security and campus safety really have become, you know, interchangeable. They both go together. Do we still have DDoS attacks? Are we still concerned about ransomware? Absolutely. But we also have all of the campus security and safety stuff. We'll go to the next slide. Cool. All right, so cybersecurity. That is still a huge function for us. You know, what firewall are we going to use? Should we use Fortinet or a Palo Alto? All of those things are still absolutely legitimate and spend a lot of time. Google security, I like to think I'm pretty good. I like to think our network admin, Zach's pretty good. I think Google may be a little better with their billions of dollars of investment than we are. So honestly, that does take some of the work off your plate. I don't have to, if Google gets hacked, we were gonna. Content filtering and inspection, that kind of was the first step in this evolution. You start pushing out Chromebooks, you start realizing that you don't get the same sort of viewpoint into searching with a traditional firewall when you're using a Chromebook. It all comes back Google traffic. So you immediately start getting into content filtering and inspection. And with that, you start seeing a lot more information. You start seeing some of the things that kids are Googling. Some of the image searches are obvious ones, but also some of the more psychological self-harm type stuff. That comes up pretty quickly. Then email, Google Docs, all of that sort of stuff come in. And really, you need to monitor what your students are doing on those platforms. Google Docs quickly become the passing notes of first choice in the 21st century. They're used for bullying. They're used for talking about the parties last week. They're used for a number of things. And for that, you need a campus safety management system. We use Gaggle, and it's great. It produces a lot of good information. But what none of these really do is answer the questions that the building administrators need. Because as IT professionals, I never had a class in child psychology. I don't know the students. I know the student numbers, I may know how their accounts get created, but I don't know what is concerning or not concerning for any particular student or how loud to ring that bell. So, next slide, please. That brings in this. How do you take all of these fire alarms, all of these alerts, all of this data, and farm it out to your buildings in a useful manner? That is a real concern because you're going to see self-harm references. far more than I honestly thought I was gonna. And, you know, I was not Polly Pierhart on the thing. Bullying and threats to others. It happens. Inappropriate images and content. Again, that is going to occur. People are going to sync their phones and have images on that they didn't think were on there, plus the standard range of searching. Domestic abuse, that was something that I hadn't really considered, honestly. But there have been cases where a kid will ask another kid why he wasn't in school that day over a Google chat. And some of the answers are fairly disheartening. And all of that information needs to be gathered and given to the appropriate people. Next slide. That's really what Managed Method allows me to do. What I can do with that is find out when it was written, who wrote it, who created the doc, who was the last one to alter the doc, who shared it with, and I can pass all of this information along to the administrators who are going to use that information to continue the process. Otherwise, you end up in a 20-minute email chain back and forth with the building administrators. Here, I found this. Well, he says he didn't do it. Okay, here's this, here's this, here's this. Or if it's a serious enough incident, oftentimes the first question is, who else has access to this? Is it getting around the school? How do we call it back? Can we call it back? And the ability to answer all of those questions quickly, concisely, really is important, because as you add Google for Education, as you push Chromebooks out into your district, you are going to need to answer these questions. And you don't really want to be going, oh, let me look at that. Because these all have some aspect of crisis to them, or oftentimes have some aspect of crisis. Managed Method allows you to do that in one pane. You can get in here, you can find the answers to the question, you can give them the investigatory information that you know they're going to need. All in all, there's a lot of fire alarms out there. There's a lot of things at the perimeter that'll tell you you have a problem. Managed Methods lets you take that next step. It lets you give the answers in one concise piece. And I love that because it lets me get back to being a system admin. Next. Data and threat protection. I don't know about you guys, but ransomware, Ryuk, TrickBot, all of that stuff is still a concern. The ability and the use of having something out there in the cloud, or multiple somethings out there in the cloud, looking for those sorts of attacks, makes me sleep a little better at night. Size of district we are, we're certainly not a one-man shop, but there is a systems administrator and there is a network administrator, and we don't have the time to specialize as much as I personally would like. So we all are a little bit of utility infielder. Having Managed Methods out there helps me know that not only is Google scanning and looking for these malicious messages, but Managed Method is too, and I can get a report about who got one, and I can remediate those threats. Next. So this one's pretty easy. They're not hard to bring online. I was here through the entire onboarding process. I was here through the risk assessment, and there's not a ton of agents. It's not going to take 2 weeks. It's not going to tank your servers. It really is pretty quick, pretty easy. It's just enabling a few things in your G Suite console, or I would assume your 365 console. Anyway, I think I'm going to hand it back off to David at this point, or whoever.
Justin, thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your information. We appreciate the insight. Folks, as you have just heard from Justin, Bremerton is a school that is on the cutting edge. They're dealing with many different types of approaches to making sure their security stack across the K-12 district is addressed. What we will do now is turn things over to some questions that we're getting in, and I'll try and answer some of these live instead of typing things back and forth amongst our team. The first question that came in was somebody asked the question of, do we monitor and detect third-party applications that are installed in the G Suite environment? And the answer is yes. Managed Methods can search files, folders, as well as third-party apps. So we can look for, in this particular question, somebody asked, we want to be able to search for particular VPN apps that have been installed. And we can detect apps based on categories, permission scopes, usage, etc., and allow you to have control over revoking those or allowing those. We've had another question about, does this system replace GoGuardian, or does it integrate or pull data in? Our answer is, and I'll turn this back to Justin, we don't advocate replacing complementary solutions. As we talked about earlier in the presentation, we believe in the multiple different layers. You're going to have traditional legacy network security tools like firewalls and on-premise types of content filters. You're going to have solutions that are looking at, scanning content through the browser on Chromebooks. There's going to be professional services out there for campus safety and management. So we're not advocates to say, do we replace somebody or not? I'll let Justin kind of talk about, again, Justin, to that question, you use GoGuardian and you use us, so you see them as complementary solutions, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We have GoGuardian, and that lets us view what kids are doing right that moment. So if we pick up on GoGuardian a search for some type of firearm, pretty quickly we also are going to get the question, well, what else has he been doing? So you can print out the search history. You can also say, hey, I took a quick run through his Google Drive using Managed Method and found some concerning writings, or did not find concerning writings. Found a whole bunch of stuff, chat room between he and his friends, and they were playing Fortnite. It allows you to build on that initial alert. I consider GoGuardian great at being a content filter at the edge. Managed Methods is really more of an investigatory tool once you know somewhere to take a look.
Thanks, Justin. A couple other questions that have come out. Some people have asked, do we manage methods? Do we collect our own information, or are we simply an aggregation of other data sources? The answer is we collect our own information. So we are directly integrated via APIs into the cloud applications we support. In this conversation, we're talking about the various G Suite applications, Gmail, Drive, Team Drives, whether it be Microsoft Office 365 Mail, OneDrive, SharePoint, Box, Slack, Dropbox. We integrate directly into all of those, and we collect them. We collect our own data. Another question that came from the audience was, does Managed Methods require rerouting traffic? The answer is no. We are integrated into Google and other apps we support via APIs. That's why there's no proxies, no extensions, nothing has to be installed in your environment. And as Justin said, we can be deployed in minutes. And so we are not rerouting traffic, we're not interfering. We are analyzing and inspecting it through the actual application itself. Another question from the audience that's came in has been, is Managed Methods product designed for Chromebooks only? The answer is no. We don't work in the Chromebook environment. We're not an extension. We are 100% through the cloud app itself. So if your school district is using Google G Suite, and in this question the individual asked, we're using MacBooks and iPads, Mac OS, iOS. We are platform agnostic when it comes to the operating system or the devices. We can protect the data and inspect the data and help you control and enforce policies regardless of the device, regardless of the access point, which leads to another question that someone had asked: what if students are accessing data from personal computers or home computers outside of the school's network? Again, that's the beauty with Managed Methods, because we work in the cloud app itself. If somebody is accessing from a non-controlled device, so in the example that Justin was just sharing, if a student within Justin School District is not on one of the GoGuardian protected devices of the school monitoring capabilities, and say they're at a friend's house or at home using a parent's computer, and they're doing interaction in Google Drive or Gmail, we are still going to be able to see that because we're seeing it through the lens of when they come in and out of the G Suite environment. Somebody asked the question of, does our solution provide email archiving? ManagedMethods does not do email archiving. That is something that is handled through Google. So I highly encourage you to talk to your friends over at Google about how the Google email archiving works. I think that covers most of the questions. There's a question, are we an extra add-on that is there an extra charge to encompass other apps? No. ManagedMethods platform supports multiple apps through a single annual subscription service. So we are a software as a service platform. It is a subscription service, and you can work directly with ManagedMethods or some of our preferred partners in the market. I think there's more questions coming in. Okay, can we limit access to movies in Google Drive? Yes, we can certainly detect that and help you remove those in many cases if inappropriate content or movies or other things are put into the Google Drive. Does your solution alert on compromised accounts? Yes, we work with you on notifications not only through technology of our own design, but as well as our integrations with Google itself. We also have specialties around, we have a newer feature that we introduced earlier this summer that's been quite popular with our customers, which is a very detailed login analyzer that helps you analyze compromised accounts, logins from other countries, alerts you to that, help block those, create blacklists, etc. I think we have just a few more questions. I apologize, they're coming in fast and furious now. Is ManagedMethods supporting content filters from one device to other devices? I'm not sure I fully understand that question. We're not at the device level. We can certainly look at content filtering as it happens within Gmail and Google Drive and Team Drives and some of the other apps we support, but I'm not quite sure about that information. They're about the device level. And then there's a question about visibility into cloud applications that are being used and downloaded with corporate school credentials. Absolutely. We will show you all applications that are being installed using the school district's credentials or the domain credentials, and we have the ability to sanction and unsanction, which then allows you to create rules and policies about how things are revoked or allowed in the environment. That's actually a big one. That's a really good question. That's been one of the more popular features of our platform that people like, is our ability to showcase an app. For example, just this morning, I had a school district ask the question about an application called TikTok, and we helped them set up a policy to detect where TikTok has been installed using domain credentials and then revoke that. Justin, I think you know TikTok well.
I've got a couple of emails on it today.
Yeah.
TikTok's getting famous, but yeah, I mean, you can go through and you can pull apps, you can see what people are doing. That sort of visibility is easy and usable. I'm hearing a lot of questions on platforms and stuff like that. I think the easiest way to kind of get your head around where ManagedMethods sits is it's on the account. It's on whichever cloud account you have running it. So if you're a Google district, if a kid is on his home personal computer but logs into his school Google account, you're going to be able to see what he does there. You're going to see any docs he creates. You're going to have access to it. Will that kid be tracked on a content filter? No, he won't. So you won't be able to see web surfing when you probably don't want to be able to see it, but you will be able to see interactions in that school account. And we found that to be quite useful.
All righty. I'm just checking here to see if there's any other questions. You know, folks, we appreciate everyone joining us today. There was upwards of 300 plus people involved in today's event and register. We appreciate the great responses. We appreciate all the questions. You know, we're excited to be in this market space. I personally am a parent. I have a 13-year-old in 8th grade. I have a 8-year-old daughter in 3rd grade, and I have many family members who work in the education market. So we have great appreciation for many people and what they do in the K-12 education community. So if there is not any further questions, I think we are going to be wrapping this up. I think two more questions just popped up. Information about filtering the movies and students. Again, I think we covered that one already, but we can detect that movies are being stored in Google Drive or Team Drives or sharing of those types of things from the outside into the organization, and we can certainly help you find those things and set up policy and rules for that. There's been pricing questions that have asked. Managed Methods offers a variety of different levels. Our pricing starts as little as $1 per student account per year and goes up based on various feature and functionality. We cover staff and students across the board. So every one of our district clients, we're helping them protect things all the way across the district. So if you'd like to learn more about Managed Methods, we encourage you to go ahead and visit the link that's been shared here. Many people have asked the question, are we going to be sharing this information? And absolutely. We will be sending out to all registered attendees a follow-up email with information on how you can access today's presentation. And if you'd like to learn more, we highly encourage you to visit managedmethods.com. Of course, reach out to your Google for Education account representative. If you don't know who that is, we're happy to help you introduce you to those people as well. And our huge thank you to our friend Justin Feltus at Bremerton School District. Justin, we appreciate your time today, and Justin has said he would be happy to answer questions for anyone as well, so we'll be happy to make that introduction to Justin if any of you want to speak to him further.
All right, well, thank you everybody for attending today. Again, if you have any questions or would like to learn more, please feel free to sign up online or give us a call. Certainly claim your free risk assessment using the URL provided. An email will go out later today or possibly early tomorrow with the video and resources from this session. So thanks again, and I hope you all have a very lovely day. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.